Good morning. We're reading The Wheel on the School by Maynard de Jong and pictures by Maurice Sendak. We're going to begin Chapter 6, Eelka and the Ancient Wheel. Eelka had been given the canal road to search. It was an important road that followed the canal all the way to the village of Hantum. Eelka did not expect to get to Hantum. The canal road had far too many farms. He searched each farm in his own slow, thorough way. Bit by bit, he worked himself far out of Shora. In his own way, Eelka hurried. At the end of a bush-lined lane that led to a huge ancient farmhouse, a young farmer suddenly stepped from behind the bushes and barred Eelka's way. "And just what are you snooping around for? Saw you at the next farm, too. Just what business did you have nosing around that farm with nobody home?" "Oh," Eelka said, startled. He eyed the tall farmer, wondering if it would be wise to take to his heels, but quickly decided there wouldn't be much use in his running away. He tried a slow, sure smile instead. "Oh, I wasn't exactly snooping," he told the farmer as calmly as he could. "I was looking for a wagon wheel. Have you got a spare wagon wheel?" "Huh?" the farmer said. It was his turn to be startled. "You see," Eelka explained, "our school needs a wagon wheel because we're trying to make the storks come back to Shora. The whole school's doing it." Eelka explained the big plans and the project. His calm, slow, thorough explanation seemed to satisfy the farmer. "Well now," he said, "it must be Providence or something. To keep an eye on you on the next farm, I climbed into the hayloft of our old second barn. We haven't used that hayloft since my great-grandfather's day, but what do you know? There's an old wagon wheel there. If it's a year old, it's 100. I didn't know it was there. I wouldn't have found it now, but running to the little window to keep an eye on you, I tripped over the thing. It was buried under old hay. It skinned my ankles, too. Boy, I can tell you, I didn't feel too good about your making me go on my face into that dust and dead hay." "Golly, no," Eelka said. He eyed the tall farmer warily. 3 long strides and that farmer would have him if he ran. "Well, I can't say I'm glad that happened, but I am glad you found the wheel, if I can have it." The farmer grinned. "That's sure putting it straightforward way. I suppose you can have it. No reason why not, I guess. It's so old and big and clumsy it wouldn't fit any of our wagons today." "You mean I can have it? Just like that?" Eelka had asked again. It was too simple and too easy after his long, hard search. "If you can get it down, you can have it. It's no good to anybody here." Eelka eyed the high barn. He pointed to 2 double doors high in the front gable of the barn directly under the peak of the roof. "Is that where it is? Way up there? Could I get it through the hay doors and let it down with a rope?" The farmer studied the barn. "Yes, if you open both doors. That's the way it must have got in, because the trapdoor inside the loft is far too small. You'd have to get help, though. You can see I'm all dressed up. I was ready to set out for Hantum when I first saw you down the road, and I'm way late now from hanging around to keep an eye on you. I wouldn't try it alone. That wheel's heavy, and if you try letting it down with a rope, it's liable to take you down with it. You can see it's pretty high." "Could I just go up and look at it?" "Well," the farmer hesitated, "the help is all back on the farm. Nobody around." "Well, go ahead. But didn't you say the whole school was at it? Better get the whole school to help you. I wouldn't try it alone. But I've got to get to Hantum." Abruptly, the farmer set off down the lane. Halfway down the lane, the farmer turned. "I'll take a chance on you. Fat, slow kids are usually pretty honest. They have to be. They can't run away. So I expect you to leave things alone in that barn. But the wheel is yours. Go right ahead." He was off again. Eelka stood staring up at the barn, wondering whether to get the others to help or to try it all alone. Imagine his coming, rolling a big wheel to the school, all alone. They'd never thought he could do much of anything because he was so fat and slow and clumsy. Wouldn't their eyes pop? Eelka's own eyes popped as he imagined the picture. He hurried into the barn. Imagine it, if he could be the one to bring the wheel to the school. Eelka climbed heavily up the long, rickety, dried-out ladder that led to the high hayloft. The ladder groaned and squeaked under him. Eelka was puffing when he pushed his head through the little trap door opening. There it was. There lay the wheel. It lay deep and heavy and ponderous among the age-old hay settlings on the floor of the hayloft. It was exposed. The scrambled markings in the hay dust settlings where the farmer had sprawled full length were all around it. Panting as much from excitement as from the hard climb, Eelka stood over it. He had a wheel. It was his. His for the lowering. His for the rolling it back to school. Maybe they'd all be standing empty-handed in the schoolyard when he came rolling up with a wheel. But this was no time to dream about it and make great proud pictures in his head. Eelka hurried to the double doors, unhooked them, and fiercely pushed them open. They slammed against the outside wall. Now there was light. He hurried back to the wheel to examine it by the new light. He felt solemn, looking down at a century-old wheel. The farmer had said it was 100, if it was a year. He prodded it with his toe. He felt solemn and excited all at the same time, here in the deep silence of the ancient barn. From a crossbeam above him dangled the end of a heavy rope. That must be the hay rope they had used to pull the hay into this loft. Maybe it was 100 years old, too. It was Providence, just as the farmer had said. Not only did he have a wheel, but there was the rope to lower it down to the ground. Eelka hitched himself up the smooth, upright beam to get to the rope on the crossbeam. The farmer hadn't said anything about using the rope, but he would know a rope was needed to lower the wheel to the ground. Eelka dragged himself cautiously along the crossbeam around which the old rope had been coiled. From his high perch he saw the wheel directly below him. His wheel. He hesitated no longer. Uncoiled the rope, loosened the knot, and let it drop down on the wheel. He slid down the upright beam and hastily tied one end of the rope around the rim of the wheel. He dragged the wheel flat on its hub across the gritty floor to the hay door opening. On his hands and knees, Eelka leaned out of the high barn. He gasped a little. It looked twice as high from the open doorway as it had from the ground below. Eelka eyed the long rope on the hayloft floor. He decided it must be plenty long enough to let the wheel down to the ground, far as it seemed. But could he do it? Could he hold it when all its heavy weight hung outside the barn, dangling from the end of the rope? From his high post in the high door opening, Eelka stared over the flat countryside, hoping, wishing there was somebody to help him. Far away, across the level fields, he could just see the sharp roof of Shora's little school. Maybe it would be better to get the others. Suddenly, a commotion on a distant road caught Eelka's eye. Wasn't that Yella? It was. Yella had a wheel. He was rolling a wheel toward the school. Yella had beaten him, as always. In utter disappointment, Eelka stared at the rolling wheel on the distant road. Then from his height, Eelka saw the farmer, saw him sneaking along the bank of a ditch that ran beside the road down which Yella was rolling the wheel. Eelka yelled with all his might to warn Yella. Yella didn't hear him. The distance was too great. The farmer grabbed Yella. Yella's wheel went wobbling off the side of the road and down into the ditch. Now the farmer led Yella away down the road toward the school. "Uh-oh," Eelka said softly. "Yella stole that wheel." He stared after Yella and the farmer. He shook his head, but somehow deep inside him he felt a certain satisfaction. Yella was always the leader and was always scolding him for being slow and clumsy and coming in behind. Yella didn't even want him in his games most of the time. But now, if he could get this big wheel down, he would be the leader. For once, he'd be the leader. All Eelka's misgivings flitted away before his new determination to once outdo Yella. Eelka did not look back at Yella again. He was determined. He pushed the wheel out the open doorway as far as he dared, but not so far that it would overbalance and shoot down to the ground. Now the wheel lay ready to be lowered. Eelka studied the situation. Maybe it would be best to tie the other end of the rope around his chest. That would leave his hands free in case he had to grab and hang on to something to keep the wheel from pulling him out of the high hayloft. With the rope knotted around his chest, Eelka took the precaution of walking around the same upright beam he had climbed to get the rope. With the rope going around the beam, the big wheel would not have a direct pull. If the wheel should drag him, it would first have to pull him across the floor, away from the doorway, and clear around the upright beam. The rope proved to be long enough so that Eelka could walk around the beam with it, and still get back to the open doorway where the wheel lay. Eelka did not hesitate now. With his foot, he gave the wheel a hard shove. The big wheel teetered for a moment, tipped down, and shot out of the high doorway.